Hello everybody, it's EtsuMonty117 here, and today we are going to review an album by a band that we just talked about. You guessed it, it's Black Peaks, and today we are going to review their album, Oh That Divides. Oh That Divides is the second album by the UK progressive rock band Black Peaks. When I heard that they were going to release a new album, I was really excited. And then I heard the singles, and I thought, I didn't really think the singles were that particularly exciting. They worked better in the context of the album, but before the album came out and I heard the singles, they didn't really move me much. But I was still excited to see what the band could do with their next album. And what did I think of it? Man, what an improvement the album was on the first. Not only has the songwriting on All That Divides been improved immensely, but the playing, the riffs, the atmosphere, the blending of styles, and the energy has been improved massively from the first album. I really enjoyed the first album, but I will admit that a lot of the songs feel recycled, and it did kind of get boring by the end. But with this album, every song is so different and so experimental that it just keeps you guessing what they're going to do next. And believe me, this album is an absolute blast. So the album starts off with a bang with the first single of the album with Cant Sleep. At first it may seem like an attempt to create another glass-built castles, and yeah, it pretty much is. With that said though, it is insanely catchy, has a great main riff, the drumming is great as it usually is. The instrumental section, while a bit lacking compared to other songs by the band, is still enjoyable, and the lyrics here are suitably emotional. If you want to know what the lyrics are about, the first song mostly talks about how people are like in society, how people get sick and how they can't sleep because they're poor, and I guess that's what the song's about. I'm not too sure. It's a bit cryptic, but I think it's written pretty well. The few issues I do have with this song is that the verses are a bit uninteresting, and the instrumental section, while like I said it was enjoyable, could have been a bit better. But with that said, it is a fantastic opener and definitely a great way of starting off the album. Then we get to one of the proggier songs of the album with The Midnight Sun. And oh man, this song is beautiful. The lyrics talk about a guy who is getting some kind of sickness and is about to slowly die. And the song itself goes through many different sections. The first section is like a verse, chorus, and then it goes into a bridge that is really heart-wrenching and really melodic, and then it gets into a heavy instrumental section near the end. Not the most complex structure, but it's definitely different for the band. It's got an insanely catchy chorus like we usually get from the band, and then we get like this cool bridge section which I talked about earlier, which is really reminiscent of Godspeed You Black Emperor. Yeah, they delve into more post-rock here, just like they did with songs like Drones on the last album. It's an insanely melodic journey with powerful riffs, powerful vocals, and a fantastic climax. Fantastic track, and definitely one of the best songs on the album. Then we get to what I think is the weakest track on the album with Electric Fires. This is the third single, I think, from the album, and it's really mainstream sounding with like punk rock cries and in the chorus, and really like ultra melodic verses. Like it's trying so hard to get on the radio, and there's a cool instrumental section in there, and it's not a terrible song, but it definitely lacks in comparison to the other tracks on the album. Not a terrible song by any means, but definitely the weakest on here. We get into a slightly better track overall with Aether. I forgot to mention that the last track was about a guy in the desert trying to find his way back home. Then in this song, I feel like it's kind of like a continuation of the last track. In this track, we see like a guy, I guess it's from the last song, trying to find his way home, going through many different types of forests and lands, just to find his way back home. It's a pretty heart-wrenching song lyrically, and it's definitely one of the best for that reason. It's one of the best songs lyrically. Musically, the song's a bit on the repetitive side, and the chorus could have been better, but the bass work, which was definitely something that wasn't present that much on the last album, really gets to shine here, and it does have a really cool climax, but the song itself could have been better overall. Still, it's still good. Then we get to one of my favorite songs on the album with Across the Great Divide. It's definitely a much improved version of Aether. In this song, we see a character who's about to die. It's kind of similar to Midnight Sun, but here he is talking about how he fears of what is going to happen after he dies. Is he going to continue in the afterlife, or is he just going to die completely? It's like kind of like ethical questions, that we always wonder all the time. This song I like the way the song builds. It starts with some acoustic guitars, and then we get like these really slow-moving, dark verses, and then we get into this really melodic chorus, which is not the best on the album, but it's still catchy. We get into a cool instrumental section, and then it gets into this oomph climax. Or if you know an oomph climax is, it's just a climax that just gets to you. It's a fantastic track, and definitely one of the best tracks on the album. We get into another track with Home. This is like the huge single of the album, the song that made everybody want to get this. Well, not for me. I didn't really think the song was that great on the as a single. It worked better on the album, but overall, I don't really think the song is that exciting. The chorus itself is pretty annoying, especially with like those falsettos, which I don't really find pleasing. In this song, it's mainly just about how the main character feels about the people and how they treat or at least how the government treats poor people in society, and how they don't get enough food and they were gonna die and stuff like that, and how this world they live in is their home and they should be allowed to do whatever they want. Lyrically it's pretty good, but just like Aether, the music here just isn't that interesting. It's also another song that's also been the repetitive side, but it never really gets too repetitive. It's fine, but it's definitely one of the weaker moments on here. Then we get to an extremely fast track with Eternal Light, which is clearly inspired by Mastodon. This is a really fun track. The lyrics here talk about how we see this guy who just wants to see, eternal light. He wants to see some kind of life in this like area he's currently at, or something, in the world he lives in. Since it's probably ruined by horrible air pollution and bad environment, and by people ruining the environment and stuff like that. It's a really straightforward song lyrically, and there's even like some pretty crappy moments lyrically too. Like there's like one part where it's like in the bridge, and one of the lyrics is "Shame on you, red, white, and blue." Yeah, it's extremely corny. But the song itself is musically pretty good. It's one of the more straightforward songs on here, but it has a great riff, it has a driving pace, the vocals here are fun, and it's over before you know it, which is a bit sad. I wish the song went on for a bit longer, but it is the perfect length, and it's still a fantastic track nonetheless. It's not one of my all-time favorites though because of the lyrics, and it could have been a much better track as a whole, I guess. But still, fun track. Then we get into one of the best songs on the album with Slow Seas. This is definitely a much slower song and probably the most progressive rock-like on here. Starts with some acoustic guitars reminiscent of Opeth, and then it leads into a beautiful verse and a fantastic chorus, which will definitely get in your head as soon as you hear it, and an instrumental section that is not too fast or too slow. The lyrics here talk about how the government just needs, or at least I guess it's supposed to be like God or the government, or it's pretty much up to interpretation, but I think it's from God. That God is basically like the star and the sun, and he should try and be grateful for what he has done to the world, but he isn't grateful, and he just makes the world worse and make everyone suffer. So a lot of these songs kind of like something in common, and that's the world being all messed up and ruined by air pollution or terrible environment and stuff like that. It's basically just like an environmental album lyrically. But still, it's got a really melodic chorus that just really gets to you, and it is an extremely progressive song with plenty of time changes and really odd sections. Fantastic tune, and definitely one of the best songs on the album. Then we get into by far the best track on this album, by far, with Fate 1 and 2. This is the proggiest and most intense song on the album. Starting off with a drum intro, it then leads into a really heavy riff, and then into a verse that's really slow moving before it leads into a really melodic chorus that, while not the best on the album, is still pretty good. And then suddenly 2 minutes in, the song switches up, and then it goes into this fantastic riff, which sounds a lot like Blood and Thunder by Mastodon. And then the song just changes up completely from the verse, chorus, and verse, chorus, and it just has one verse. Then after that, it goes into another section, which is really similar to Midnight Sun, except that the instrumentation is even more minimalistic. And then after that, it goes into like a guitar solo that is so goddamn strong and so good that it was also a good guitar solo on the last track as well. And then the song ends on such a sour note, and it fits so well with the concept of this album being about like the environment being all messed up. And this song is a great closer. The lyrics here talk about how fate can't help us in the hard times of the world. You know, it's when the world is completely ruined, and we can't do anything about it. We just have to try and suffer through it. It's such a great song, and I wish people gave more attention to this than Home or Can't Sleep. By far the best track on the album, and I would even say probably my favorite song by Blackpeak so far. So, final verdict on this album. Wow, not only is this an improvement on the first album, but I would even say this is probably my favorite album of the year so far. I've heard a bunch of other new albums recently, like Brockhampton's Iridescence and Haken's Vector, but this may be the best album of the year. There's a few things that kind of stop it from being a masterpiece, and that is that the three songs I thought were a bit Electric Fires, Aether, and Home. They could have been a bit better, but none of those songs are terrible. The production is another thing that kind of irked me. The production was a bit muddy. The drums could have had a bit more punch. The vocals didn't need to be so commercial sounding. I don't know. So I guess because in the live versions I've heard of some of these tracks, it does not have this commercial sounding production whatsoever. But other than that, the vocals, the different styles they attempt here, the atmosphere, the concept, I'm not sure about the lyrics, but the concept, it is just wonderful. And I definitely recommend you people checking this album and this band out for that matter. Fantastic album, and definitely one of the best I've heard in recent memory. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you till next time. Peace.